So there's been a lot of changes going on in my life, and some of it's nicotine withdrawal, and some of it's maybe just being overwhelmed. Sometimes I think we get overwhelmed so much, or I feel that I have been overwhelmed, and I think I must have just hit a breaking point, and I got tired of second guessing myself, which translates into this, which is I had to surrender to my fear. I had to surrender to my fear. And in surrendering to the fear, I surrendered to my doubt. I surrendered to my doubt about who I was as a spirit. As a spirit. Not as this packaging, not as this container, this construct, this vessel, the vessel Marty Curry, but the spirit Marty Curry. And I hit the point when I started piecing together the relationship of father and son, and how I'm going through a divorce and being away from the kids, but at the same time too trying to take care of my father, Lester Solomon, and seeing what he's going through. And I just hit a point that I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't be afraid. And in not being afraid, I fought and realized what the war was that I was fighting, my life. I mean, I was born and had to survive post-traumatic stress disorder from a Vietnam vet because they sent him over there to do God knows what. Actually, we do know what, and it's pretty horrifying. And so, dealing with the Anishinaabe post-traumatic stress veteran was a tale. It was a tale to tell. It was a tale of, hits, and it was a tale of grabbing me by my burns like this and picking me up when I'm 2 and 3 years old, picking me up like this, so I'm hanging off the ground, and taking me and throwing me from one side of the room to the other, from here all the way across the room to here, and hitting up on the wall, hitting up on the wall and then coming down and falling on the couch that was probably a savior in more ways than one, because I remember nights where I would shove my brother and I under the couch just so we could be safe, so we could sleep. I remember more than one time crawling under the couch and sleeping under the couch because it was the safest place. The couch was too heavy, you couldn't pick it up when you're drunk. So there was that. There was the notion of looking up when you're 2 years old at your mom and seeing blood coming out of her mouth because she's been punched. It leaves an impression. It leaves an impression. It leaves an impression. And so it calls up issues of sanctity of mother and sanctity of woman spirits. And I've been no angel. And I'm sorry. But then I got to start looking at who was causing this. Who was doing this? It was a warrior. It was an Ogichida. It was an Ogichida in the physical sense. But I think my uncle was imprisoned. I mean, he was still in prison. Probably to the day he died, he was in prison. And so going through my recent series of events brought me back to the fact that I have fought this war before. Or maybe I didn't fight this war, and that was the problem. The problem was that by not recognizing that here I was full circle again in my life in terms of what I had an opportunity to do. I had an opportunity to have a clean slate, which is rare because I've gotten a couple of them and I haven't done anything with them. So maybe this is the point where I was supposed to be. But my uncle was fighting the war too, because he was taken away from his parents, and he drank, and of course he went and he did his service, came back, and there was not a lot of help. You know, even now we're finding problems in the VA, in this modern advanced civilization that we are, in the VA, and not being able to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know, what are we putting all the money in for? I mean, yes, there's medical care, but we got a behavioral issue here. We got a behavioral issue, and it's created other behavioral issues, like behavioral issues in me. And I'm working on them, okay? So I've just hit this point in my life where I gave into the fear. I'm not going to use the word surrender, because when you talk surrender, you talk giving up. And I don't think it's a giving up. I think it's just recognizing that fear is the enemy. In everything we do, fear is the enemy. In fact, I think we're so afraid that nobody knows what's going on. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and it's pulling us away from the core issue, which is, how do we communicate, not with this, but how do we talk and listen with this, with our hearts? So, who's driving this thing? Who's driving this thing? I look at the world and I cry for the world. It's nice to cry. It feels good to cry. I've just gotten back to the point in my life where I can cry, because I'm tired of being balled up inside of myself, curled in that fetal position, somewhere in that dark room inside of each one of us has. And maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm the only one in this entire world that feels like this, but I'm going to at least talk about it because it's good for me. It's good for me to talk about it, and I hope that it's good for you to listen to it. That this isn't whining. I'm not whining. I'm just talking. And through sharing some of my stories, maybe if one person cannot be afraid, one more person in this world cannot be afraid of this beautiful thing that we call life, because it's pretty overwhelming at times, folks. And it's not because the world is complicated. It's just because we've made it that way. We've made it that way. And it's a wall. It's a wall that has prevented us from taking care of each other. The political systems are trying to do, but they're running in place. They're running in place. We're basically trying to keep setting up constructs that take us away from the real question, which is, why are we doing this through governments? We should just be doing this through the people. It's not politics. It's just humanity. It's just humanity and humanism. So, I don't know. I feel better for talking, and I'm going to keep it up. And until they come and take me away. So, thanks for listening.